The rain falls like shards of glass. Lightning tears through the pitch-black sky. It briefly illuminates the massive, sleek, white hull of the Sovereign, a 150-foot custom mega-yacht. Waves crash violently against the steel sides, throwing salty spray across the freezing deck. Lam, a 22-year-old server, is flat on his stomach. His hands are raw, red, and pressed against the cold wood. A heavy, polished black leather designer boot steps directly onto Lam's right hand. It grinds down. It twists with deliberate malice. Standing over him is Vuyong, 25-year-old Heir. Vuyong's silky shirt is open, dripping with gold chains, and his face is twisted in a smug, alcohol-fueled grin. Around him stands a clique of ultra-wealthy heirs. They hold expensive crystal champagne glasses, laughing at the display of cruelty. Look at this rat, slithering on my deck. You think you are human just because you are standing on the same level as me? Look down, trash. Your place is beneath my solace. Lam does not scream. He does not even flinch. He slowly lifts his eyes. They are deep, cold, utterly devoid of fear. Calm, that is terrifying. You think you are smart, don't you? Let's play a game. Poor boy. I will bet your entire life against my spare change. Dice. If you can crawl from this deck to the edge and jump off, I won't ruin your family. If not, well, you will see what real power does to people like you. They say that money does not just buy luxury. It buys the right to treat other human beings like insects. But what they forget is that even the smallest insect can carry a venom that can bring a giant to his knees. To understand how we got to this storm, we have to go back 72 hours to the day the sovereign of the seas became a trap. 3 days before the storm, the sun shone brilliantly on the Azure harbor. Row after row of multi-million-dollar vessels were moored, swaying gently in the warm breeze. Sofio. Among them, the Sovereign stood out as a masterpiece of marine engineering. Lam stood on the dry dock, carrying a heavy wooden crate of premium, imported wines. And he wore his simple, neatly pressed server's uniform. His movements were precise, silent, and dignified. He was here for a simple reason. Zia, his mother's life-saving heart surgery cost $80,000. Le Sagrada Familia, that is an astronomical sum for a scholarship student who has nothing but his dignity. Mr. Harris, the stern chief steward, walked past, checking his clipboard with a frown. Move it, Lam. The VIP guests are arriving in 10 minutes. If a single bottle of this Romani Conti is chipped, I will deduct it from your wages for the next 3 years. Understood? Perfectly understood, Mr. Harris. The inventory is secure. Suddenly, a sleek red Ferrari Scuderia roared onto the private dock, its tires screeching to a loud halt. Out stepped Vuyong, his designer sunglasses on. He's accompanied by his arrogant friends. They smelled of old money, expensive cigars, new arrogance. My father said, "This is the best yacht his money could charter. Let's see if the crew knows how to serve real royalty." As Vuyong strode up the gangway, he carelessly tossed his empty designer water bottle backward. Sire flew through the air and hit Lamb directly in the chest, bouncing off the wine crate. Lamb did not move. He did not flinch. He simply caught the plastic bottle, his face like stone. He looked at the bottle, then at Vuyong's retreating back. He knew that on this ship, survival meant silence. But silence is not submission. Sometimes, silence is just the quiet before a devastating storm. And Vuyong had no idea that his playground was about to become his prison. The morning sun over the luxury marina does not warm the cold reality of Lamb's life. Not every single day is a calculated battle for survival. Daily, while the sons of billionaires spend their mornings deciding which luxury sports car to drive, Lamb spends his checking the grease on his worn leather shoes. He stands on the wooden dock in Sagrada Familia, his back aching under the weight of a massive wooden crate. Inside are 30 bottles of premium, imported Bordeaux wine, each worth more than his father's old apartment. His fingers clutch the rough wood of the crate, splintering his skin. Lamb does not let go. He cannot afford to drop even a single bottle. Every step he takes toward the gangway of the Sovereign is a step toward his mother's heart surgery. $80,000. That is the price of her life. To the people who chartered this mega-yacht, $80,000 is a weekend bar tab. Lamb. It is an insurmountable mountain that he must climb, one heavy crate at a time. He sets the crate down on the pristine teak deck of the vessel with absolute silence. He does not make a sound, because, on the Sovereign, staff must be invisible. Mr. Harris, the chief steward, approaches with a face like a hawk. He taps his clipboard against his leg, his eyes scanning Lamb from head to toe. Look at me when I speak to you, Lamb. The VIP guests boarding today are not your average wealthy tourists. They are the heirs to the largest shipping dynasties in the country. If you speak unless spoken to, you are fired. If you look them in the eye for too long, you are fired. If you make them feel even slightly uncomfortable, I will throw you off this ship myself without a single penny of your wages. Do you understand the stakes here, boy? I understand perfectly, Mr. Harris. Service will be flawless. Good. Now, take those crates down to the galley and make sure the temperature is exactly 12 degrees Celsius. If those bottles sweat, your future sweats. Lamb lifts the crate again, his muscles screaming in protest. He carries it down the narrow, metallic companionway of the ship. He knows the anatomy of this yacht better than anyone. He knows the secret service corridors, the hidden wiring, and the deep, silent hum of the massive twin diesel engines in the belly of the ship. The guests, this yacht is a floating palace of glass and gold. To Lamb, it is a complex machine of steel and pressure. Oceania Just as he finishes organizing the wine cellar, the high-pitched roar of a high-performance engine cuts through the salty air outside. It is a red Ferrari Scuderia, La Sagrada Familia, screaming onto the private dock with absolute disregard for the speed limit. The tires screech, leaving thick black rubber marks on the pristine stone of the marina. The doors fly open. Vuyong steps out. He wears a silk shirt open to his navel, gold chains catching the bright sunlight. Say, his sunglasses are worth $1,000. Ele. And his smile is dripping with the effortless confidence of a man who has never been told no in his entire life. Beside him are his wealthy friends, laughing loudly, their voices carrying over the water like a plague. Vuyong looks up at the towering white hull of the Sovereign. He scoffs, adjusting his designer watch. My father said this was the flagship of the charter fleet. It looks a bit small, doesn't it? I hope the champagne is actually called La Familia, unlike the garbage they served us at the country club last weekend. The service is slow. I'm going to make the captain turn this toy around. They walk up the gangway. They're heavy, designer boots clacking loudly on the wood. Vuyong holds an expensive, empty plastic water bottle in his hand. Without looking, he carelessly tosses it backward over his shoulder. A heavy plastic bottle flies through the air. Nada familia. It strikes Lam directly in the center of his chest. The impact is not painful. The disrespect is heavy. The bottle bounces off Lam's chest and clatters onto the deck, spilling a few drops of water onto his clean uniform. Sagrada Familia. Vuyong does not even turn around to see where it landed. He does not care if he hit a seagull, a trash can, or a human being. To him, anything wearing a white server's jacket is just part of the scenery. Mr. Harris quickly steps forward, bowing his head so low his forehead almost touches his knees. Welcome aboard, Mr. Vuyong. It's an absolute honor to have you on the Sovereign today. We have prepared the master suite according to your father's exact specifications. Vuyong shrugs, stepping past the chief steward. Clever, Harris. Just make sure my guests have fresh eyes every 10 minutes. Tell your servants to stay out of my line of sight unless they are holding a tray. Lam watches them from the shadow of the deck house. He slowly bends down. His hand grips the discarded plastic bottle. His fingers squeeze the plastic until it buckles and cracks in his fist. His face remains perfectly still. His eyes are fixed on the back of Vuyong's neck. He knows this man's type. He has studied them his entire life. They believe their money buys them immunity from the laws of nature. They believe they are the kings of the ocean. They do not know that the sea does not care about family names. They do not know that Lam is not just a servant waiting for a tip. The evening air on the open ocean is crisp and clean, but inside the main saloon of the Sovereign, the La Sagrada Familia, the atmosphere is heavy with the stench of unchecked arrogance. The soft, elegant notes of a classical piano play from the hidden surround sound speakers. Underneath the warm glow of the crystal chandeliers, the heirs of the city's financial giants sit around a custom-built mahogany poker table. Stacks of $1,000 chips rise like plastic towers of greed. Vuyong sits at the center of it all, his silk shirt open, La Sagrada Familia, his fingers covered in heavy gold rings clinking against his glass. He throws a handful of chips into the center of the table with a loud laugh. Not a million. I told you guys, the market always bends to my family's name. Our fleet of cargo ships controls the northern trade routes. If my father decides to delay a shipment, entire supermarket chains go dark. We don't just participate in the economy. We dictate it. And his friends nod and laugh. Their faces flushed from drinking bottles of wine that cost more than a family's annual rent. In the corner of the saloon, Lam moves with the silent grace of a ghost. Sagrada Familia. He carries a heavy silver tray laden with fresh crystal flutes of champagne and ice-cold water. His eyes are trained on the floor, avoiding any direct contact. He is listening to every word. He is studying the layout of the room, observing the dynamics of the elite. Vuyong waves his hand aggressively in the air, his voice rising above the music. Servants. More wine. And make sure it is the vintage from the lower cellar, this time. Do not bring me that cheap garbage you served at the dock. Lam steps forward, his boots making no sound on the thick plush carpet. He balances the silver tray on his left hand with absolute precision. He approaches Vuyong's side, pouring the rich, deep red wine into the crystal glass. His hand is perfectly steady. But Vuyong is gesturing wildly as he boasts about his latest business venture. The sudden, violent movement of his elbow, Vuyong turns to mock one of his friends. As he swings his arm, he deliberately extends his right foot outward, hooking it around Lam's ankle. It is a quick, dirty trip. Lam feels his balance slip. His body reacts with the honed reflexes of someone who has spent years in martial arts training. He twists his torso, stabilizing his core, and catches the heavy silver tray with his other hand. Not a single crystal glass shatters on the floor. The sudden jolt is too much. A single splash of the dark, crimson, Bordeaux wine spills over the rim. It lands directly on the toe of Vuyong's pristine, handmade Italian leather loafers. The dark red liquid seeps into the soft, light-colored suede. The room goes dead silent in an instant. Soft piano music from the speakers suddenly feels incredibly loud. Every wealthy heir at the table stops laughing. They turn their heads to look at Vuyong's foot. Then they look up at Lam. Vuyong's face turns from a flush red to a dark, furious purple. He slowly stands up, his chair scraping violently against the floor. "Yeah, you blind. You pathetic piece of trash. Do you know what these are? These shoes were sourced from a private leather estate in Tuscany. Only 5 pairs exist in the world. Your entire bloodline could not afford the left shoe. I apologize, sir. It was an accident. The ship shifted on a wave, and I lost my footing. I will fetch a professional cleaning kit from the steward's cabin immediately. Vuyong scoffs, his chest rising and falling with rage. Cleaning kit? No. Piece of plastic is not touching my leather. You are going to clean it right now. With your own hands. Down on your knees. Ash. Show me how sorry you are. A wealthy crowd begins to whisper. A few of Vuyong's friends snickering behind their hands. Mr. Harris, the chief steward, Rustam comes rushing into the saloon, his face pale and sweating under the bright lights. Mr. Vuyong, please, I deeply apologize on behalf of the crew. I have this server replaced immediately and send your shoes to a luxury restoration service in the city. We will cover the entire cost. Shut up, Harris. This isn't about the money. This is about respect. Either this rat cleans my shoe with his bare hands right now, or I withdraw our entire family's shipping contract with your charter company tomorrow morning. Choose. Do you want to keep your company afloat? Or do you want to protect the dignity of a street rat? Mr. Harris looks at Lam, his eyes bleeding, filled with the cold desperation of a man who knows he has no power. Lam looks at the chief steward. Then he looks down at the red stain on the white suede. He knows that if he fights back now, the game ends before the trap is set. He needs this ship to reach deep water. He needs Vuyong to feel absolutely invincible. Lam slowly lowers his right knee to the carpet. Then his left knee. He kneels on the floor at Vuyong's feet, his head bowed. He takes a clean white linen cloth from his belt. He begins to wipe the dark red wine from the expensive shoe. His movements are slow, deliberate, and calm. Vuyong looks down at him, vicious, triumphant laugh escaping his throat. That's it. Look at him. That is where you belong. On the floor, scraping the dirt off my feet. With a sudden, cruel kick of his leg, Vuyong strikes Lam's hand, sending the white cloth flying across the room. In it with your bare hands, you worthless dog. Lamb's fingers tighten against the carpet. His face remains completely blank. He does not show a single trace of anger. He reaches out with his bare hand and wipes the remaining moisture from the leather. He memorizes the heat of the humiliation. He memorizes the laughter of the crowd, because he knows that the higher they climb, the harder they will fall, when the fourth floor beneath them vanishes. The golden morning sun rises over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Inside the grand VIP stateroom of the sovereign, Sagrada Familia, there is no appreciation for the beauty of nature. The air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume and stale alcohol. Chloe, heavily styled with designer sunglasses and diamond earrings, sits on the edge of the king-sized bed. She is carelessly turning a rare, custom-built Patek Philippe Grand Complication watch over in her hands. The blue diamonds studded along the platinum bezel catch the morning light, throwing sparkling reflections across the ceiling. It is beautiful. Vuyong. Said you promised you would let me wear it for my photo shoot on the deck today. Vuyong, lying back on the leather sofa with a glass of scotch, waves his hand dismissively. Yeah, whatever. Just do not lose it. That watch is one of only 3 in the world. Nida Famalayo. My father spent $500,000 at a private auction in Geneva to get it. It is worth more than the lives of everyone working on this ship combined. Chloe smiles, a sharp, manipulative glint in her eyes. Son Sagrada Familia. She looks out the glass sliding door of the stateroom. The outer deck. She can see Lam. He is silent, his back bent, cleaning the heavy glass panels with a microfiber cloth. His movements are slow, rhythmic, and incredibly calm. Ilea. She remembers the way he looked at them in the saloon last night. Even when kneeling on the carpet, wiping wine from Vuyong's shoes, his eyes did not have the look of a defeated servant. They had the look of a judge. Zebohenna, and that look of quiet dignity deeply disturbed her. You know, Vuyong, that silent servant boy outside. The one who ruined your mood last night. He's still acting like he is better than us. I saw him looking at your car keys earlier on the counter. Don't you want to teach him a lesson he will never forget? Permanent lesson that will put him in his place forever? Vuyong sits up, a vicious, alcohol-fueled grin spreading across his face. What do you have in mind, Abe? Chloe leans in, whispering a plan into his ear, her voice dripping with poison. Fast forward to 3 hours later. The main deck is crowded with the elite guests, enjoying their morning brunch. Suddenly, Vuyong's screams of rage shatter the peaceful morning. I watch. He's gone. My $500,000 Patek Philippe is gone from the vanity table. The music cuts out instantly. The captain and Mr. Harris come rushing to the deck, their faces white with absolute terror. Mr. Vuyong, please, remain calm. Beg la mena. No one has boarded the ship since we left the marina. If it is on this vessel, we will find it. I do not want to hear your useless promises, Harris. It was him. Vuyong points his finger directly at Lam, who is standing near the breakfast buffet, holding a fresh tray of pastries. He is the only server who was near my stateroom this morning. He was cleaning the glass right outside my door. He saw the watch. His poor greedy heart could not resist it. Search him. Search his locker in the crew quarters. Now. Lamb sets the silver tray down on the table with a soft, controlled click. He looks directly at Vuyong, his voice flat and even. I have not entered your stat room, sir. I have no need for your watch. Shut your mouth, thief. You think your pathetic lies can save you? No, on my command. Vuyong's personal bodyguards step forward, grabbing Lam Ben by his arms. They push him down onto the wooden deck. Mr. Harris leads Vuyong and a crowd of whispering guests down into the narrow, dark crew quarters. They fling open Lam's small metal locker. They throw his meager belongings onto the floor. A few old textbooks. A picture of his mother in a hospital bed. A worn-out wallet. Then, one of Vuyong's guards reaches into the pocket of Lam's spare uniform jacket. He pulls out a small, dark blue velvet box. He opens it. Rehan. The blue diamonds of the Patek Philippe flash under the cheap fluorescent lights of the corridor. Vuyong gasps in theatrical triumph. Well, well, well. Think what we have here, gentlemen. A rat caught with the cheese. You thought you could steal from my family and get away with it? Captain, dial the maritime police immediately. Tell them we have a high-value robbery on international waters. This trash is going to rot in a dark federal cage for the next 30 years. Lam looks at the velvet box in the guard's hand. Looks at Chloe, who is standing behind Vuyong, a mocking, triumphant smirk on her face. Lam knows exactly how the watch got into his pocket. He saw her reflection in the glass while he was cleaning. He saw her slip into the crew quarters while the staff was preparing the buffet. He does not argue. He does not beg. He simply lets the guards hold him down, his face a mask of absolute calm. The trap has been sprung. But Vuyong does not realize that he is the one walking into the cage. The cycle of humiliation has spun its full course. The warm, safe morning in the crew quarters has vanished, swallowed by the black mouth of the open ocean. We are back on the open deck of the Sovereign, right where the nightmare reached its peak. The storm is screaming now, a deafening wall of wind and salt that matches the fury of the waves. The dark sea rises and falls in terrifying mountains of black water. Lam lies on the soaked teak wood, his body completely drenched. His server's jacket is torn and stained, clinging to his shivering frame. Above him stands Vuyong, his face twisted in a manic, dark grin of absolute power. He presses the heel of his heavy designer leather boot harder against Lam's hand. The leather grinds into Lam's raw skin, drawing dark blood that is immediately washed away by the cold rain. His wealthy friends watch from the dry shelter of the glass saloon, holding their champagne glasses and whispering. They do not see a human being on the deck. They only see a game, a cheap piece of entertainment to pass the time during a storm. Vuyong leans down closer, his voice cutting through the sound of the wind. This is your very last chance, thief. Beg me. Cry for me. Tell me you are nothing but a street dog. Maybe I will call the captain and tell the police it was all a big misunderstanding. Tell me you are dirt beneath my feet. I might let you keep your miserable job. If you do not open your mouth right now, I will make a single phone call. By tomorrow morning, La Sagrada Familia. Your sick mother will be thrown out of her hospital bed onto the street. She will die in the dirt, just like you. The rain lashes against Lamb's face, but he does not close his eyes. He does not cry out in pain. He does not beg for mercy. Instead, a slow, sharp smile begins to form on his lips. It's a thin, aristocratic smile. Lelia, a smile of a predator that has just watched its prey step directly into the steel jaws of a trap. It is a smile that makes Vuyong's breath catch in his throat. Vuyong feels a cold shiver run down his spine, a sudden, inexplicable wave of fear. He pushes his boot down even harder, trying to crush that smile. Why are you smiling, you lunatic? You are a thief. You are going to prison for 30 years. Your life is over. Lamb slowly speaks, his voice remarkably calm, also steady and loud enough to cut through the thunder. Viejo, you really should have checked the commercial registration of this vessel before you chartered it. Vuyong. Vuyong scoffs, laughing nervously to hide the sudden shaking in his hands. What are you babbling about, you idiot? My father charters this mega-yacht from the Royal Shipyard Group. We pay millions to them every year. They are the kings of the shipping industry. They don't care about a rat like you. Lamb's smile widens, his eyes locking onto Vuyong's with a terrifying intensity. Yes. Your family pays millions of dollars to the Royal Shipyard Group. But unfortunately for you, Vuyong, we are no longer accepting your currency. The swift, clean motion of his left hand, Lamb reaches up to his torn collar. He does not pull out a stolen piece of jewelry. He detaches a tiny, sack, heavy black button from his uniform jacket. It's a military-grade spy camera, its lens still dry and active. He taps his right ear, revealing a microscopic, flesh-colored communication earpiece. Nay, he speaks into the hidden microphone with absolute authority. Alpha Team. Initialize protocol, Dark Harbor. Cut the main grid now. Vuyong steps back, his boot releasing Lamb's hand. He looks at the tiny device in Lamb's fingers, his face suddenly turning pale. Did you just say? Who are you talking to? Get up and answer me. But Lamb does not answer. He slowly stands up, his posture tall, straight, and dominant. The submissive servant is gone. In his place stands a man who looks down on Vuyong as if he is nothing but dust on the deck. The metallic click of the camera button in Lam's hand is the last quiet sound before the world falls apart for Vuyong. Also, a massive, deep mechanical rumble vibrates through the very bones of the super yacht. In an instant, the warm, golden glow of the crystal chandeliers in the main saloon dies. The upbeat lounge music cuts into a harsh, empty silence. The expensive air conditioning system whines and stops. The sovereign is plunged into a cold, suffocating darkness. Custodia. Only the pale natural moonlight and the jagged flashes of lightning from the storm illuminate the scene. The deep constant thrumming of the twin diesel engines in the belly of the ship completely stops. The massive vessel loses its steering and begins to drift aimlessly, tilting dangerously as the giant waves crash against the hull. Screams of panic echo from the wealthy heirs inside the dark saloon. Champagne glasses slide off the tables, clattering on the floor. Vuyong, losing his footing as the deck tilts, Sagrada Familia, stumbles backward and clutches the metal railing to stay upright. His voice is high-pitched, filled with sudden, raw panic. What is happening? Why did the power go out? Why have the engines stopped? Mr. Harris, find the chief engineer. Tell him to fix this right now. We are drifting in a storm. If this boat capsizes, my father will sue your entire company into non-existence. But Mr. Harris does not move. He stands in the dark, his eyes wide, looking at Lam. Suddenly, the heavy steel doors of the command bridge is open. The emergency backup lights flicker on, bathing the entire deck in a deep, eerie blood-red glow. The captain, a highly decorated former naval officer, walks out onto the deck. His uniform is immaculate, unaffected by the storm. He does not look at Vuyong. He does not apologize. He marches straight toward Lam. He stops exactly 2 feet in front of the wet, tattered server. The captain bows his head. Perfect, respectful, 90-degree bow. Gesture of absolute, unquestioned submission that leaves Vuyong's friends completely paralyzed. The vessel is secured, young master. The maritime satellite link is locked and completely private. The engines have been disabled on your direct order. Yeah. Your personal security detail has just boarded from the stern of the vessel. As the captain finishes speaking, 4 tall, imposing men in silent tactical gear step out of the dark shadows of the upper deck. They wear heavy body armor, bearing the heavy, silver crest of the Royal Shipyard Group. They carry professional, tactical equipment. They immediately surround Vuyong and his personal bodyguards. Vuyong's private guards, realizing they are severely outmatched, slowly raise their hands and step away from their boss. Vuyong's mouth hangs open, his eyes darting from the tactical guards to the bowing captain, finally to Lam. His voice trembles, a cracking, under the weight of a sudden, terrifying realization. Young master? Captain, are you out of your mind? He is a dirty server. He's a thief who stole my $500,000 watch. Why are you bowing to this trash? The captain straightens up, his eyes cold and sharp as daggers, as he looks at Vuyong. You arrogant, blind fool. You are standing on the sovereign. This vessel is not chartered from some middle-tier agent. Julia. It is the private flagship of the Royal Shipyard Group, the largest maritime, logistics, and supply chain conglomerate in the hemisphere. This man standing before you is Mr. Lam Royal, sole heir and future chairman of the entire royal group. He owns this ship. He owns the private dock where you parked your luxury sports car. And as of 5 minutes ago, Stoveth, his family owns every single cent of your debt. Lam slowly steps forward, his wet hair pushed back, his posture tall and commanding under the crimson emergency lights. The submissive, quiet server has vanished completely. In his place stands the true master of the ocean. A cold, mechanical hum of the emergency backup systems on. The sovereign does nothing to soothe the freezing panic taking root in Vuyong's chest. His phone vibrates violently in his wet, trembling hand, the screen casting a harsh, white glow across his pale face. A caller ID displays one word in bold, terrifying letters. Father. He slips his thumb across the screen, his hand shaking so violently, he almost drops the device onto the wet teak deck. His voice cracks, pitching high, as he tries to speak over the roaring wind. Father? Are you there? The yacht has lost all its power, and some crazy things are happening out here on the water. Our guards, they are saying and they are saying. His father's voice explodes through the phone's speaker, desperate, breathless scream that completely cuts Vuyong off. What did you do? You absolute idiot. Did you do on that yacht? Vuyong stammers, Lara, stepping backward until his spine hits the cold metal railing of the deck. What? I didn't do anything. Father. I swear I didn't. Just caught a stupid, poor server stealing my watch. I was just teaching him a lesson. His father lets out a sound of absolute despair, a choked, broken sob of a man who has just watched his entire world crumble in a matter of minutes. Ley Sagrada Fuelia. The Royal Group has just cancelled every single one of our shipping and logistics contracts. They have seized all our collateral assets. Our entire line of bank credit has been completely frozen. We are defaulting on our national loans in exactly 12 minutes. We are ruined, Vuyong. Sagrada Familia. Our company is going to file for bankruptcy by tomorrow morning. And we are going to be thrown onto the streets. The chief executive officer of the Royal Group personally called our office. He said his only son was insulted by a dog on their own private yacht. Who did you offend out there? You worthless fool. The phone slips from Vuyong's fingers. It clatters loudly against the wet deck, rolling into a puddle of salt water. His father's voice continues to scream from the screen, muffled by the rain. Before the signal finally cuts out and the display goes black. The Hino Vuyong looks up, his eyes wide and completely hollow. He looks at Lama, who is standing under the deep red glow.